Greetings, fellow men, servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. As you all know, there was an election yesterday in the federal state of Hessen in Germany, and now I have something that you would call the exit polls probably. It is the unofficial result from Sunday night. Now here it is Monday morning in Japan. Of course, it's still in the middle of the night in Germany, and the official result will come out tomorrow, but I don't think a lot will change. What we see so far from the votes that have been counted is that, as you can see in the thumbnail of the video, that as expected, the big parties lost each around 10%. So that means the CDU, Angela Merkel's party, is still the strongest party, but they lost 10%, so they have now around 27%. The Social Democrats are around 20%, and the Greens, even though they won a lot of votes, they could improve their result. Since 2013, they are not the second strongest party, but only by a thin margin, it seems. That could still change, but they're right up there with the SPD, around 20%. The fourth strongest party is, of course, the AfD. Their result seems to be around 13%. Yeah, that's a pretty good result. I think in 2013 they had around 4%, so they could win a lot actually. The biggest gain actually of all the parties in Hessen, that also can be counted as a success actually. And both the Liberal Party and the left-winged Socialistic Party Die Linke, they could improve their result a bit, but they stay below 10%. These are the results. I don't think so much will change until the morning. And that means, if it stays like that, that the current coalition between the Green Party and the CDU, which is actually the coalition that Angela Merkel feels the most comfortable with, because she is basically something like a Social Democrat / Green Party person herself. She's just in the wrong party, as everybody knows. This coalition could no longer rule. That means you would have, as expected, a coalition between three parties. And that will be interesting. Of course, the very green-leaning media is hyping up the Green Party now as the big winner, and that they must be in the new government. Maybe I make a separate video about it. I think I have mentioned it already before several times. 80% in many newspapers and TV stations, 80% of the staff leans towards the Green Party actually. So that means they're not even Social Democrats. They're not conservative at all, obviously. They have a very strong leaning towards the Green Party. So among journalists, they are overrepresented. Yeah? They're not 80% of the population, of course, but among journalists, this Green Party ideology is very common. So the media is always very, very much in favor of the Green Party. All right, so this is basically what I expected, what I said in my last video, and now what has changed, or what will change after this election, like I stated also before, is that people in the Social Democratic Party will want to get out of the coalition on the federal level. So our federal government, their narrative is that they're bleeding voters, they're hemorrhaging voters because Angela Merkel's policies are not popular with the Germans, and they get all the blame. Yeah, as if they would actually do things differently in a big way. I don't think so. I think they would do the same thing. It's just nice for their ego to blame Angela Merkel and her policies for their losses. they would have lost these voters anyway. But this is what's happening in the Social Democratic Party now. They will want to leave the coalition. They will put pressure on their leadership to maybe leave the coalition, and that would mean new elections. Or because I don't think that the Bundestag could then vote in a new chancellor, and that didn't work before. Remember my videos about the Jamaica coalition talks? That was a big mess. Not the videos, I think, but the coalition talks I'm referring to. And that would mean new elections on the federal level. And what I read already this morning, which means Sunday night in Germany, is that in the CDU it is now allowed to openly debate a change in the leadership, and that means Angela Merkel would have to go, or at least people speculate not so quietly anymore about Angela Merkel leaving the scene. And this is something that's not a revolution or anything, but it is a big step, and it took the Bavarian state elections and the Hessian state elections in order to build up the pressure, because never underestimate local politicians, or any politicians for that matter, losing jobs and positions, because the currency of politics is always positions and power and public money. So you must be able as a politician to sort out your friends, your loyal companions with safe and cushy government jobs. So you can actually have a little army of people behind you when you make the decisions of who is going to be responsible for this, who's going to work in that office, who's going to be secretary for this and that. This whole public job market. It's not a market, sorry. This whole sector of public jobs and contracts and all that stuff. If you control that, you control an army of loyal companions. And if you lose the power to make the decisions about who gets these jobs, you lose your loyal companions. They're not loyal, of course. They don't have actual loyalty to you, they're bought. And when you lose your position there, when you lose your influence, you will lose the power to buy their loyalty. And this is how politics works. So if they lose 10% now, they lose a lot of seats in the parliament. And it's not just one MP sitting on a chair, it is an entire it's an entire staff, you know. He has, of course, an office there. He has a secretary. He has a driver. He has people who do research for him. He has a lot of people just by himself, not even counting the decisions that he can influence. But there is a long list of people who cannot be put into positions anymore by the SPD and the CDU because they lost so many votes. So sorry that I spent so much time on covering this point, but it is a very important point. This is actually what's behind all the pressure here. I mean, they say that they fight for Germany and our party is important for the future of Germany, blah, blah. No. It's about positions. How many positions can I influence? How many loyal companions can I buy with public money influence, or influence on how the public money is spent? This is what's behind the pressure that is building up right now, and this is why I predicted that, of course, and I was not the only one. I mean, it was written in the newspaper even. Everyone knows that who knows a little bit about politics. When these parties lose so many votes, the pressure will build up. They want to see heads on spikes now. Maybe that's a little bit too colorful, but well, you can say they want to see some heads rolling, and this time it could be Angela Merkel's head. I don't want to get your hopes up. Like I said last time, something else can happen now, some kind of PR stunt, something to persuade them to think differently, but I'm saying the pressure has been building up and it is there now, and I think now after the Hessian election we will actually see what happens, and if this pressure will unload, or if it will go away, I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, both for the coalition. Will the Social Democrats leave the coalition? And will the CDU try to vote in a new head? So will Angela Merkel have to leave? Maybe not as chancellor, but maybe as a leading figure in the CDU. That is not a contradiction, I think. It would weaken her position tremendously, and her days are numbered anyway. I think this Merkel 2.0, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, as I always say, horrible name. It is, I don't know, whatever, a horrible person. Maybe I cover her in the future, but they want to build up her now to take over for Angela Merkel, and we will see what happens next. This is a brief update here from Japan, and I hope that is good news to you. I think that everything more or less happened the way me and many people in the media also predicted that this would happen. No big surprise, but what will happen next, that's the interesting thing. As always, Servus, Kameraden.